Morning. Today we're going to take a look at the Boyum Dashboards for the B1Usability Package. So to get things started, the way that Boyum works here is you are able to turn off the Fiori cockpit dashboards, and you're able to use the Boyum dashboards. Now, to do that in administration underneath add-ons and B1Usability Package, what you'll find down here is you'll find an area for B1 dashboards, and there's a general configuration for this where you can define, what is this search box going to look at up here? Is it going to search in business partners? Is it going to search in contacts and employees? Are we going to search in items? Are we going to use an SAP search menu as well? So this will give us a lot of searching power up here that's built into the cockpits themselves. And then just some basic settings, but the one I wanted to mention is this one down here, replace the Fiori cockpit. And again, this is an experimental feature. You will notice some inconsistencies. One, you may have already noticed where my menu didn't come right up when we had brought it in. So you can see here, you have the ability to expand the area of your dashboard and then bring in the main menu. You will notice on occasion, sometimes this menu coming in might be a little bit slow with the dashboards, but all in all, it seems to work really well. So you have the ability to create as many different cockpits as you want going across the top. And that's real easy to do by going in and editing the dashboard widgets. Now, these are a collection of all of the widgets that I've created over time. But the system will come with about a half a dozen standard widgets. And these widgets are generally in the are wrapped up in actual cockpits. So the system will come with about 5 or 6 cockpits, and then you use that as a starting point and you can go crazy from there. So if I want to add a new widget, I can click the add button. It'll allow me to give it a name down here. And this could be an entire cockpit that contains multiple widgets, or it can simply be a single widget on a cockpit. So those are your options there, but you'll see how it all comes together. Now, that's where all of the details of the widgets come into play. The actual cockpits themselves, if we go in here to, let's find it here, add, edit menu settings, here we go. Now, this one is going to give you a list of all of the actual cockpits. And we'll let this come up here in a second. And then from here, each one of these individual cockpits, of course, is going to contain a collection of widgets. Here we go. So what we'll see now, you'll see a list here that corresponds with the list of cockpits across the top. And so, for example, if I want to get in and manage my service cockpit, I can just give this a click, and it'll then open up the dashboard designer. But this basically allows me to determine, what cockpits do I want across the top. And again, the system will come with a CRM. It'll come with a sales, an inventory, a production, and a purchasing, and a service, and a finance cockpit. Those will come out of the box. And then you can create your own from there. Okay, so let's look at the dashboards themselves. Here's an example where I've got kind of KPIs where I'm looking at different areas of my business. Down here, all I'm doing is counting the number of orders coming in this year versus last year based on how am I receiving the orders. Of course, I've added a user-defined field into my order entry system so I can tag how I receive the order. Of course, you got your messages and alerts over here. And then I've got a budget analysis over here. Now, these widgets, although this looks like a lot of data in a small, compact area here, I can expand this up to the full screen, or I can expand the entire widget up to the full screen like this. Now, I've set up my budget analysis here with some rules. So anytime I go over budget, it'll highlight it for me here in pink. Now, this is what we call an interactive dashboard. So for example, if I just want to look at my 2022 budgets, I can select 2022. And now that's all I'm going to see down here is my main budget 2022. Now I'll go ahead and take that off here. And then this will give me all my budgets. So if I select all here, of course, I'll see all my budgets down here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to remove all the filters here so you can see there's a collection of every single budget I've ever had going way, way back, 2020, 2021. Just the budgets that I've got in my system here. 2016, I think, is the farthest it goes back there. And again, if I want to narrow it down, I just click and then I'll see everything represented based on my selection criteria here. And then even if I want to just look at my sales revenue and see how that's been budgeted through all my different budgets, I can look at that and get a comparison of is it going up, is the budget going down. Anyways, it's just a kind of a neat way to play with your budgets. And then I'll go ahead and I'll put this back to sleep back here in the corner. So this is an example of a cockpit, my home cockpit, where I've got a collection of widgets. Now I'm going to jump over to another cockpit here. Here's my CRM cockpit. In here, what I'm doing is I'm really focusing on campaign management. And so I have a visibility up here or filters up here where I can say, okay, let's look at my maintenance renewal campaign. And I want to look at that using all my target groups. And I'm here, I can see that penetration. Where did I get responses from that campaign? And this is from an email campaign. So I can see I went on 27 emails and that's the responses that I got. So it all looks pretty decent, but this gives you, again, ability to slice and dice, play with your data. Now I'm going to go to another cockpit, my marketing cockpit. Now here's where I'm using browser widgets. And these are a lot more flexible than the Fiori SAP browser widgets, which require a secure connection. Here you can pretty much bring anything up in you want. If you want your Gmail to run in here, a Google Calendar, Google Sheets, the sky's the limit. What I'm doing here is I have Google Analytics out looking at just some sample websites to give me some business intelligence on my websites. Now in my sales cockpit, here's a different type of widget. You see it's got the all the charts and graphs. It has these cards up here and shows me how I'm doing, this year versus last year. By customer group, by item group this year versus last year. Nice pie chart here that shows me my sales per item group. But I have multiple pages within this cockpit here. So I'm looking at my sales analysis, but you can also set up multiple pages and pivot tables. So here I'm looking at a pivot table of my sales, almost like the sales analysis report. And so if I want to scroll down a little bit or drill down a little bit, I just want to look at 2022. Well, then I can look at my quarterly performance in 2022. And if I want to go down further, and now I can look at my monthly figures for 2022. And then I can also open this up by any one of my product groups and see which items within that product group are selling so far this year. So that's a pivot table. That's also a capability of the Boyum Dashboards. And then lastly, I've got my sales to forecast. So this is focusing on my open orders. It's looking at what I forecasted. What do I have on hand? What do I have available to ship? And what have we sold? And then down below is just a global map, geo map of where my sales are happening at the country level. Now, these maps, you can use state maps. You can get download maps off the internet. And of course, Boyum gives you the ability to use state maps, country maps, and world maps out of the box. All right, now here's a dashboard that I created called a Client 360. And so here's another example where I'm leveraging the power of the dashboards here. So if I want to look at all orders this year, there they are. It's every single, not just orders, but that is every single credit memo, invoice, delivery, order, quote, and return this year. Now, if I want to narrow that down and say, okay, just show me my open documents from this year, and I want to narrow those down to, let's say, Earthshaker Corporation. Now this just shows me all of Earthshaker's open documents, and I can see AR invoices here. Maybe I'll expand this a little bit. I can see all of Earthshaker's invoices, deliveries, orders, quotes, anything that might be currently open at the moment this year for Earthshaker. Now, if I remove that filter, now I'll see everything for Earthshaker. And then down at the bottom, it gives me a pretty good idea of, is this a pretty good customer? Are things working out for this customer? Let me give you an example. Let's remove the filter here for the time. And I'm going to select a customer called Joanne's. Here's a good example of what you would want to see. We did a pretty good number of quoting for this customer, but a lot of those rolled into orders. We got about the same level of orders as we do deliveries, as we do invoices, minus about $3,000. So you can see here, it looks like we gave about $3,000 away in discounts with this particular customer. And then on the far right, I have my production environment. So if I want to look at all of my work orders for a specific customer, I can narrow that down and easily see what we plan to produce, what's been completed, and what's been scrapped. I won't go through the rest of my cockpits here, but you can see they're pretty, you can really get pretty creative in these. On my production one, this one gets a lot of feedback from prospects, where I have all my planned production up top. Then when this production order gets released, it drops down here, and I'm able to see where we're at from a completion perspective. I'm able to see the raw materials I need for both planned and released work orders. And then down here, I see what were my production results within the last 7 days this week. So this gives me a real good view of the production environment. This LCFS, this has to do with a carbon, the amount of carbon in a liquid product. This is not available in SAP, but what I did here was I simply created a table that allows me to store that information. So in production, I've got this LCF master table where I'm able to simply hand enter some production information about the credit and deficit of a carbon reading, and then be able to use that information in my cockpits. So you can use your cockpits on anything inside of SAP. All right, now let's go back to our home cockpit here. And let's just say that, we'll go to, let's go to CRM. Let's say that we want to edit this dashboard. And so I can do that right from here by going in and opening up the dashboard editor. And this takes us back to a list of all the widgets. And you'll see that CRM, let me break down here. We see the label CRM. You'll see that CRM is simply a widget that contains, or a cockpit that contains a bunch of widgets. So widgets can contain widgets. That's an interesting concept. But there's my CRM widget or cockpit. And in here are all of the widgets in that cockpit. And I'm now looking at the dashboard editor from the B1Usability package. And so this is what the dashboard editor looks like. These are the kinds of things that you can do: pivot tables, grids, charts, scatter charts, pie charts, gauges, cards, heat maps, chloropeth maps, geopoint maps. You can add in all kinds of filters, images, text box, groupings, containers with multiple pages. You can insert all kinds of filters, change the colors. There's all kinds of things you can do. It's to create calculated fields. It's above and beyond the Fiori capabilities. It's pretty phenomenal. So, down here where I'm looking at my responses by campaign, if I want to change this, maybe I want to convert this to pie chart, I can do that. Or if I want to convert this maybe back to cards, to gauges, to scatter charts, any one of those things. What I'll do is I'm just going to convert this back to a bar chart there. But now that I'm in the bar chart, if I want to edit the colors, I can add some rules here that give me the ability to adjust the colors based on varying amounts and whatnot. So this is a very powerful tool. I can't show everything that this can do, within a 30-minute period, but hopefully you got a pretty good idea. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring that down, but let's just say we want to create a new widget from scratch. Maybe we want to create a widget that maybe focuses on, I don't know, we'll figure it out here. Let's go in and edit our dashboard widgets. We'll add a new widget. We'll call this one test 2. And this one is going to be visible to myself. Now I can also allow other users to have security to that widget. So as you can see here, I've got access to it, my login, but this is how you can control the security as to what a user can do. So there's our new widget. We call it test 2. I'll go ahead and select update here, and that will add this widget into the mix. Now I need to, on my my test 2 widget or cockpit here, we're going to double click. Now this is going to open up the dashboard designer. And now I can begin building. What do I want in my test 2 system? Well, it's all built from queries. So if I go out to the query generator here, and we'll just run a quick query here. Maybe we'll make this one sales related because it's real easy to get at the sales data. So what we'll do is let's throw together a really quick sales report. We want to see sales rep. We want to see sales order, the sales order rows. I'm going to add in a couple of more tables here just to get fancy and show off a little bit. We'll add in the item master table, and let's add in the item group table. There we go. And now we'll create our report. And so the report here is going to be sales rep. Then we want to see the order number, the posting date, due date of the order. Let's go down to the product family here. Let's bring up the item groups that were sold. And then the item description, quantity, row total. Let's also bring in the row gross profit. So we'll grab that in here real quick. We got the item OITM. Let's also add in what do we have in stock, an order by customers, and so forth. When I hit execute, there's my report. Now, I don't need to save this report. All I need to do is copy the SQL. So we'll copy the SQL there. We'll close that, close that. Back in our analytics, now what we'll do is we'll go to the data source and we're going to add our query that's going to populate our cockpit. So we'll paste that in here. There's our query, select next and finish. And now you can see every column on that query is now lined up here. So we go back to our home and we decide, what do we want to do with this data? So I might start out with a chart. And so I might want to, click on chart. And now what do we want in our chart? So what I want to see here is I want to see sales rep, and I want to see gross profit would be the argument generated by sales rep. And now the series, actually, I kind of did this wrong here. Series is by sales rep. My argument is a gross profit. There we go. So now I'm able to see who's generating the most gross profit on a sales rep basis. Now, if I change this to argument, you see how it'll then build it down here as well and into another graph. And then if I want to edit these colors, I can make some changes. I can apply some rules. I can also go in and convert this to any other kind of chart I might want. But that's a good start here. And so using the real quick ability here, edit names, we might call this sales gross profit by rep. And down here, we'll just call this gross profit. So we kind of relabel the things so it looks professional. There we go. So that looks a little bit better. There's our gross profit, profit by rep. Now, I want to add something else into our test cockpit. So using the same querying here, I can go out and grab a different query. Well, that's the other cool thing here is I can rename my queries. So I might call this my sales report. Now, if I want to add in another query, I can give it a name, and I can start building charts and graphs and things with a multitude of queries all in the same widget. So in this case here, sales gross profit by rep. Now, I also want to add in a grid report, and I want my grid report to be up top here. So I'll position it where I want it. And in my grid report, I want to see the sales rep, show me the, we didn't do, we never grabbed the business partner, which was kind of a lame on my part, but we'll keep going here. I want to see the sales rep. I want to see the item groups they're selling. Show me the items within those groups. I want to see the order number, document number, and then I want to see due date, and then I want to see my gross profit. And so now I've got this grid here where I can start adding in or inserting things. Maybe I want to see the line total before the gross profit, and then I might even want to see the quantity before the line total. So I'm able to bring these in. Now you do need to change some of the defaults. So for example, this document number, it's summing it. Well, you want to change the format here. We don't want the document number, the ID. What we want it to be is we want it to be a number using, down to the ones without any precision. So we'll now we get a, legitimate document number here. On the date, right now it defaults to year, but I might want to change that to be a month year like this, or I might even want to go and actually see the actual date. And so we'll do it that way. We see the quantity is treating the quantity as $1. So we'd simply come in here to quantity. We go to format and we switch it from auto to being a number. And this number, we want it to go down into the ones, but on my quantity, I may want a decimal. So I might also want to include a separator. So now we'll adjust the quantity. Line total looks good. Gross profit looks good. And now I've got my, my dashboard the way I want it. I'm going to edit my names here. Oops, those are rules. You know what we'll do is let's put a rule in anyways. I'll show you how to do that. Let's edit some rules. And we're going to add a rule, and let's add an expression. And so what we want to do is we want to say, if the, let's see here, if the gross profit is greater than, I'm going to put in here, we'll say if the gross profit's greater than $100, then we want to see that as green. That's sort of a high profit item, and we'll apply. Here we go. Now you see how it applied it to the sales rep on my high profit items. But you know what? Maybe I want to apply that color to a different field, like maybe gross profit. We'll apply that. Now you can see anytime I get a gross profit above $100, it's going to tag it for me here in green. Or I could apply that to the whole row, and it will highlight the whole row for me. So there you go. That's creating a dashboard from start to finish. We've got a couple of analytics in here. Again, if I wanted to add something else like a pie chart, and I can position it anywhere here where I want it, and I can just begin to build that with my queries. Now we've got this, we would then save this. This would be called test 2. And then what we're able to do is back in our cockpits here, if I wanted to add test 2, let's say into my service cockpit, and then I just need to make room for it. I could either take things down, remove things, slide them over, move them around, but all I need to do is go to add my new widgets. Oh, we didn't save test 2, darn it, but it would show up here. Here is a list of all the widgets. If you save them, I didn't save mine because I've got so many, but this is a list of all the widgets. And so you can see there's quite a few. Everything you see on the left are widgets that either came with the system or they're widgets I've created. And then the other widgets, these are, out of the box. So they could be SQL reports, clocks, messages and alerts, Kanban boards, common functions, which is your quick launch pad, calendars. This is another cool feature with the calendars. In fact, while I'm here, let me talk about that. Let me expand this calendar here. You have the ability with the Boyum B1Usability Package to also replace the standard calendar that comes with Business One with the Boyum calendar. Then you have the ability to tag data to the Boyum calendar. So if I want to look at my inventory overview, I now have instant visibility of certain batches and when they're going to expire. If I'm a salesperson, I want to look at my sales overview. Then that's going to give me visibility of my on-site meetings, opportunities, quotes I need to follow up on, invoices and when they're due. This is an incredible feature. It's really neat. The ability to tag data from the supply chain planner. I need project visibility. And so I've got visibility of my projects. And then of course, the ability to, from here, click, drill down, see the details. But these calendars are fantastic. And they're also an example. Whoops, there we go. Took me into the project there. These calendars will also, they're delivered with the system. So you can expand them, size them however you want within your cockpit. And then decide, the type of view, daily, weekly, business week, 7-day week, or month view. So if I want to insert a new widget, we just simply come up here, add widget. We would look for our test 2. In this case, we didn't save it. So I'm just going to grab, I'll just grab an example here. Let's grab, how about rolling sales by month? No, let's grab returns. Let's bring in returns. There we go. So now I've got a nice little widget that just shows and focuses on returns. So anyways, I'm going to close that up. You guys have got a pretty good idea how this works now. I would encourage you to turn it on and to just play with it. Start building some analytics, use some queries, have some fun with it. It's really a neat tool. It's absolutely fantastic. And then from the dashboards, we didn't touch on a whole lot of this, but from the dashboards, you're able to click and then drill down. You can set up drill downs. You can create your own drill downs and all kinds of good stuff. So I will leave you with that. Hopefully this gives you a pretty good idea of how the Boyum dashboards work. But if you would like to see this in more detail, I am happy to spend more time and show everyone how this works. Thank you for watching.